It's been asked many times, and now the story can be told of the secret origin of the unconventional ufologist. In the grand bewildering scheme of the universe, where the improbable is commonplace, and the commonplace is often downright suspicious, there exists a peculiar chapter in the life of one individual, me. A chapter that began in a small under-the-stairs cupboard that involved a terrifying artist's impression of a monster, which led to a lifelong obsession with the unknown. This is the story of our 6-year-old boy from Moston, North Manchester, way up north of England, stumbled upon a world of flying saucers, silent black helicopters and things that go bump in the night. And all thanks to a stash of UFO magazines hidden in a cubbyhole. My tale begins in a modest 2-up, 2-down terraced house in Moston, a place where the walls were thin, the neighbours were nosy, and the living room contained a small utility cubbyhole that would become the unlikely gateway to the cosmos. This cubbyhole was a place of mystery and intrigue, housing me dad's tools, me mum's Hoover, and as it turned out, a treasure trove of UFO magazines from the United States. Me dad was a long-distance lorry driver for DC Thomson, the company behind beloved British comics like The Dandy and the Beano, and each week he would bring home stacks of these comics for me and my brother. But while my brother was content with the antics of Desperate Dan and Dennis the Menace, I was an awkward sod who wanted Batman and Superman. Little did I know that my dad's toolbox held something more intriguing than the adventures of the Caped Crusader and the Man of Steel. One fateful day, my dad asked me to fetch his hammer from the toolbox in the cubbyhole, and as I rummaged through that toolbox, I stumbled upon a stack of magazines that would change my life forever. These were not the usual DIY mags or car maintenance magazines that one might expect to find in a toolbox, nor were they those other certain types of magazines that may have been squirreled away from prying eyes. No, these were UFO magazines, filled with pictures of dish-shaped objects, eyewitness accounts, and stories of encounters with beings from other worlds. I was captivated. By the way, I did eventually find those other magazines. Me mum, ever the voice of reason, had caught me reading one of these mags, not those mags but the UFO mags, at the table, and promptly declared that I was far too young to be looking at such rubbish. Rubbish? Pah! To my 6-year-old mind, these magazines were a portal to a world of wonder and mystery. And so, like the world's greatest detective, or so I thought, I began sneaking into the cubbyhole whenever my parents were engrossed in the flickering glow of the black and white television, watching the likes of Coronation Street and Danger Man. And there was me reading by the faint light that seeped through the gap in the door. It was during one of these clandestine reading sessions that I encountered something that would scare me senseless. In the 1967 issue of Flying Saucers Illustrated, a spin-off of Fate magazine, there was a picture on page 6 that would haunt my dreams for years to come. The image showed Kathleen May, a woman from Flatwoods, West Virginia, standing in a house next to an artist's impression of the Flatwoods Monster. Now, at 6 years old, I had no idea what an artist impression was. To me, it looked like a monster, a real live monster, and it was standing in Kathleen May's house. The creature was tall, with a spade-shaped head, glowing eyes, and a body that seemed to defy all known laws of biology. It was, in short, the stuff of nightmares. I remember staring at that picture, my heart pounding, my breath coming in short, panic gasps, and then, like any other self-respecting 6-year-old who had just encountered a monster, I legged it out of the cubbyhole and into the living room, where my parents were blissfully unaware of the cosmic terror that had just unfolded in their humdrum tiny cupboard. An argument ensued between my mum and dad over the discovery of the magazine that I'd left open in my haste to hide under the bedsheets. My dad was a bit pissed off that mum had told him off and said he would make sure I wouldn't be able to see them again. But my mum, perhaps sensing the spark of curiosity that had been ignited in me, was a little bit more lenient in suggesting that I should be introduced to these magazines when I was just a little bit older. In the end, the magazines were moved to a new hiding place under the wardrobe, a location that, as it turned out, was not nearly as secure as my parents had hoped. That initial encounter with the Flatwoods Monster left me terrified, but it also sparked something deep within me. A curiosity, a sense of wonder, and a desire to understand the unknown. Over time, the fear gave way to fascination, and I found myself drawn to the world of UFOs, extraterrestrials, and as I grew older, my interest in the subject only deepened. I began to seek out more information, devouring books, articles, and documentaries on UFOs and related phenomena. I joined UFO groups, attended conferences, and even started conducting my own investigations. And along the way I met amazing people, witnesses, experiencers, abductees and investigators from all walks of life. Each encounter added a new piece to the puzzle, a new thread in that tapestry of the unknown. My journey into the world of ufology has been anything but straightforward. It's been filled with frustrations, challenges, and moments of sheer bewilderment. I've seen strange lights in the sky, structured craft that defied explanation, and flying triangles that moved in ways no human-made aircraft should be able to do. I've encountered silent black helicopters that seem to appear out of nowhere, and I've listened to witness statements that have chilled me to the core. To paraphrase Winston Zeddemore from Ghostbusters, I've seen shit that'd turn your hair white. And yet, still, despite the frustrations and the challenges, I've loved every step of the way. There's something uniquely thrilling about delving into the unknown, about seeking answers to questions that may never be fully answered. Years later, long before the advent of eBay and the internet, I managed to track down a copy of that fateful 1967 issue of Flying Saucers Illustrated. It was a reminder of where it all began, of the cupboard, the Flatwoods monster, and the spark of curiosity that set me on this path. Holding that magazine in my hands, I felt a sense of closure, a connection to the 6-year-old boy who had first glimpsed the mysteries of the cosmos through the pages of a forbidden magazine. I suppose that in the grand scheme of things, my story is a reminder that the universe is a strange, mysterious, and sometimes dangerous place, full of wonders and terrors that defy explanation. It's a story about curiosity, about the desire to understand the unknown, and about the enduring power of a single moment that can change a person's life. So the next time you find yourself rummaging through a cupboard or a toolbox, take a moment to consider what you might find. Because in a universe as vast and unpredictable as ours, you never know what you might stumble upon. The next great cosmic mystery, or at the very least something that plants a seed of curiosity within your mind. As for me, I'm going to keep searching, keep investigating, and keep wondering, because the truth is definitely out there, somewhere, somewhen, and I intend to keep being part of this great ufology movement to try and find it. And it's all thanks to a cupboard, a magazine, and a 6-year-old boy who dared to look beyond the stars. Thanks for listening.